All right,
Yeah,
guys.
now we're
So,
recording.
all right, guys. So, I'm happy to have you guys here, and please, I like to always tell people when I'm teaching that there's the opportunity to learn from you too. Um, but at the same time, I like you guys to keep an open mind because I understand so well that you might have learned something, and learning new things might mean that you have to unlearn some things, and you might not totally agree with everything that I'm going to say. So, in everything that we are going to discuss today, I'll definitely be discussing design systems with you guys. I know majority of us might have had the with design systems. Some of us are just starting with design systems. Some of us don't even know about design system. I'm happy to tell you guys that yes, we have this session because of you guys, just to bring you up to speed with design systems, and I'm very sure that you gain something from here. So while we're here, I just want you guys to know that you're already familiar with design systems before. It might not just be formal, or you just know it as design systems. So oops. All right. So sorry. I ought to have been presenting already. All right. All right. So my name is Abdul Basit. Like I had said earlier, I'm a product designer, a full stack developer, and I'm also a community manager at the same time. So I'd like us to just have a friendly conversation, even though this content is supposed to be educational. We have in this session, and we want it to be as friendly and interactive as possible. So if I'm moving too fast at any point, please cut me, tell me that I'm moving too fast. You can absolutely I'm not on the screen. I might not see what you're doing, but definitely I have people on the call to notify me. So that's just my brief introduction on this topic. So what's on the table? This is what we are going to discuss. We'll discuss the problem, your first interaction with design systems. Then we'll meet the hero, design systems, of course, powers of the hero, what the design system is supposed to do. So how to build your hero. So we'll be looking at our demo on how we can build a design system, and also building our hero together. Then we have question and answer, and we call it a day. So like I said, this is just going to be like me trying to share a lot of things in the least time possible, because 2 hours is definitely not enough to teach design. So moving forward, so I don't know why this is really not responsive. It's taking its time. So let's talk about the problem here. I can't see my speakers notes, and that is so bad. Probably I have to change my browser. All right. So talking about the first problem here, we have too many captains on the boat. So, for example, I mean, if you've worked in a team whereby you're the only designer, I mean, you're not just the designer, you have your own experience and the designer. Let's just start with minimum of you and somebody, right, on a design, and you have to design something. The first thing you have is conflict of interest, because number one, it might even begin from the smallest thing, which has to do with color. You might prefer to say, "Oh, color blue is absolutely nice for me," and and the other person might say, "Oh no, I think color purple is fine." Meanwhile, I know that specifically pick colors for our projects, but excuse me, this is just the smallest example of one of the problems that it could come from. It could be like, okay, after all your briefing, you are looking at, okay, I like this font. This font placates what we are doing. Then another designer is saying, oh, let's pick this font. Immediately you start to say, oh, let's do this, let's do that. You begin to have conflict of interest, and at the end of the day, you might end up building a product that looks different from what you are actually supposed to build. So that's one of the problem. I don't know why this is not responding in time as it's used to on Chrome. But let's move forward. So difference in design by style. So this is also referring to difference in style by design. So yeah, this also relates to number one, but it's entirely different. So number one, I happened to work on a project recently, and the designer that worked on that project didn't know about auto layout. So by style of design, he could decide to say, "Oh, I want to use rectangles instead of frame to make this." And you yourself, you might need that component one way or the other, and now you are struggling to understand that, "Oh, this is what I should do. This is what I should do." This type of conflict begin, and you see that, "Oh, this thing is slowing us down. We're having same thing, we could have thing, but it's different in the way they were built." So which means that I could build with a frame without using an auto layout. You could build with an auto layout, and another designer elsewhere, "Oh, I like the rectangle," and before you know it, we're having so many conflicts in just one design system. I mean, in just one design file, and before you know it, you are already in chaos inside your design. So the next point I should take is conflict is the order of the day. So I like to say something. I think I've said this several times, from our conversations in several meets. Number one, a successful product is a reflection of the conflicts of the team involved in building the product. So what this simply means is that number one, your product manager is saying, "Let's do this way." Then you have your expertise as a designer. You definitely know that it's not going to work. But you now say, "Okay, since it's the PM that is saying let's do this," then you now move forward and say, "Oh, I'll do this. I'll just do it because the PM says that." At the end of the day, you already know that that product is bound to fail because you didn't contribute your own interest to it. And again, now when you now say, "Oh, I don't like this," we need to have that conflict, but we need to have that conflict respectfully, to say that, "Oh, this is how this is why our products will be successful." And it's just not about disagreeing, but one way or the other, in a product and building a successful product, you definitely have one of those conflicts because you're already having conflicting opinion. So this is another thing that is another reason design systems. So to the next point, they call us slugs. Yeah, this one, in products recently, we build very fast. We say we are going agile instead of waterfall. So we don't want things to actually like delay us, or somebody is delaying us. So they call us slugs. They tell us that, "Oh, this developer is too slow, this design is slow. We need to ship this thing the next day." So having a design system can help us solve this, and we would also learn about that as we move forward. So to the next point here, let's do this again. Look, all right. So I've seen this play in one of those points, but there are sometimes that you see that, "Oh, we have to redo the same thing over and over again. Oh, I've already built a button here, and now there's another button, and now you say, 'Oh, I need to build this button again.'" Or in fact, you need to build another product for the same company. So again, you now start to say, "Oh, this is another product. I have to start building buttons over and over and over again." So, which is absolutely going to lead to a problem too in the nearest future. And you see that you're already wasting time, which might be another reason why they call us slugs, because we spend a lot of time thinking over and over and over again. So to the next point again, this thing is super unresponsive and it's annoying. Okay, another thing is, how can this get bigger? How can this get bigger? So when I say how can this even get bigger is, how can this product get bigger? Sometimes we have so many components in a file that you now begin to say, "Oh, we need to continue creating new components while the product gets bigger." But now it's beginning to seem that you don't even have a direction. You don't know what to do again. And now that the product is growing, where you're supposed to spend just few time on building the product, because you already have some things before. Now you're now wasting time to say, "Oh, this is how we are going to get bigger." So you see that it becomes a source of confusion for you, and you might not be having the best designer experience or the developer experience. This. So this point is, Collaboration is just a word. Yeah, like I said before, some people say we are collaborating, but there are so many times that if you have worked in a team, so you'd see that while I've been explaining this, I've been referencing teams and teams and teams all and over again. That's because collaboration is really, really important in also building a successful product. But now, while we might say we might be collaborating, some people don't just collaborate. You see that, oh, at the end of the day, after resolving the conflict, they just say, okay, you just do your thing, let me do my thing. And at the end of the day, it does not help the products that you are building. If you're a developer, right? And number one, you say, oh, like the button that the button components that this developer has built, and you say, oh no, I don't really like rounded button, and now I have to build a square button because I don't like rounded button. So you see that here we are not collaborating; we're just going towards our direction of. And the next point would be, don't tell me we're updating this again. So now you built a product, the product works. Then now we now say we are shipping to version 2. And in version 2, we say we want to make break changes. We don't like this button. We need to redo another button all over and over again. In some cases, it has happened where you have to refactor your design or you have to refactor your code. So one way or the other, we begin to have this issue. And you see that even for us as designer, it might be as easy as changing something on the interface, but also for developers, it means that sometimes we might have to clear that code. Sometimes we might just need to change that thing, and it's just about refactoring. So we are doing this thing over and over and over and over again, which makes us stuck in the file, and it doesn't make us do what we want to do. So this is the last point. What is even accessibility? So this is very, very important. In most cases, majority don't take accessibility as a requirement when building. Designers, developers, we fall in this place. So we need to define accessibility is what ability means to have successful products, because now for you to build a successful product, you also have to accessibility in building them. So these are the problems that we have, that we say, okay, we can't continue to go like this. This is where you're going to work. You might be shipping some products, you might be shipping. Imagine you're working in somewhere like Google that has multi products, from Google Meet to Google Calendar, and now all of these things separate together, and everybody is just building what they like. You see that here we begin to have this particular type of problems. So yes, you might have made design system, but you don't know what they are. So I like to say that one day I'll explain what design system is using the human body. So something that could stroke your mind is, how do we even know if somebody is a male? How do we know if somebody is a female? So I'm not limiting this. I know that we have more than this gender, but I'm sure, according to this audience, majority of people would actually relate to this. So there sometimes you see and you can easily tell that yes, this is a man, and when you see somebody again, you can easily tell that woman, right? So it's so easy. This is design system in play. Design system helps us understand some of these things. Once you see, okay, so outside of the scope of man, given that we have so many genders, so let's just say man alone. You can say this is a man. You can also go and say, oh, if you see a lion, you definitely call it a lion and not a man. And this is what design system is. This is what design system is about. It allows us, so we'll define design system as we move forward. But like I said, you might have made design system, but it's just a you thing, which means that while you're working, you already have systems, some patterns that you follow. I know according to majority of designers here, you might have seen the eight pixel spacing, right? So you have 8 pixels, 8 pixels. You say, oh, you're following an 8 pixel system, right? But it's not defined. It's just a you thing because you are the only one working, and that's fine. That's a solitary design system. It's just a you thing. It's not defined. So irrespective if you have been designing before. Of course, you have made design system. It might not just be formalized, but you actually have a design system already. So that, and that's, like I said, that's fine. So you see here, it's just you contributing to the product, just a you thing alone. You are the one contributing to that product. Then also there's also centralized. So what does centralized itself mean? So let's look at the illustration. So now you see that in centralized, I grouped some people. So which means in centralized, we have dedicated teams. Some teams that say, okay, this team will build our design system, contributes to this design system. Then other designers, use when they are ready to build a product, they go to this design system and pick what they want. But we already have a team. These are the people building our design system. Then also another type of design system is federated. So what exactly is federated? Federated is somewhere where you have a multi-brand. So an example of multi-brand is a company like Coca-Cola. I believe that Coca-Cola is a global product that majority will be able to relate with. Coca-Cola, in the same way they produce Fanta, and the color of Fanta bottle is absolutely different from the color of Coca-Cola, right? Which is their product. Then they also have Eva water, but definitely you need to know that this is a unified product. So now they can just decide to say, okay, in the Coca-Cola team, you guys form a team to say, okay, they want bring in your design system for Coca-Cola. Fanta team will come out and say, okay, we are the one designing for Fanta. We are the design systems for Fanta. Eva Water would also say that we are the design system team for Eva, right? So now you see that three different teams can come together, but at the end of the day, they need to use a unified system. This Coke itself is a brand, but we have multi-brands. So if time permits us, we'll also look at multi-branded when we are building design system, how multi-branded would work. One is hybrid. The last type is hybrid. So hybrid is mixing, you know, you're a solitary designer and you just want to contribute to the design system. And at the same time, we already have a dedicated team. So you can see that design system allow flexibility. Anybody can pick the type of design systems they want, but it has to be at the organization level to say this is how we want our design system to work. So we'll see some steps and come back to this. So now let's discuss design system. So why is this so slow? It's so annoying. So I'd like to apologize. So what's a design system? A design system is a block or building blocks and standards. So let me read that again. A design system is a set of building blocks and standards. So let's talk about building blocks first. Then I'll also contribute on what standard is. So as building blocks means that when you want to arrange a building, you definitely carry several types of blocks to say, okay, this is what we're using to make this. In terms of design system, we have the atoms, and if you're familiar with chemistry, we say atom is the smallest unit of an element. So of design system, the page is the element, but this time around, atom is the smallest unit, and you can see from the example on the screen, we have something like a button and an input text and an input field holder. So while a design system has this atom itself, we also have molecules, which could be that. So molecules again, it's a combination of atom, right? So now you can see that. So we want to finalize according to the example here, also on the screen. You see that we are joining our inputs field, our button together, and you can see when we fuse two pieces together, now we begin to have a molecule, two or more pieces actually, right? We could have our molecule. So now we now have the organism, which is the next level, which means that when we combine several molecules together, they form organisms. So you can see that the gallery view, if you have a gallery view and you have several images, you see that yeah, this thing is an organism whereby they've combined several molecules together to form this part. We would actually see that in Vue. Then we also have templates. So I think templates is like something everybody would know. So when you say something is a template, it means like, okay, we can follow these templates, just to make something look like something, right? Then templates would actually form pages, which means that the mixes of templates can actually give us a page. So now this is just all on build. You can see that this design system, it's a matter of building something. It's a way of systemizing something. Though the solitary might not give that sense, but they, even when you are doing solitary design system, you are actually contributing to design system in a systematic way, one way or the other. So you see that it's a matter of building blocks. So then I also added standards, which means that there are specific standards that you set in a design system. And I'd already mentioned one that majority of us use, which is the eighth grid system, So there are several standards you could actually look at and say, okay, this is the particular typography that we are using. This is what we are using. We are going to use rounded corners, stuff like that. So moving on. So a design system is a set of building blocks and standards. I think we understand that. That helps keep the look and feel of products and experiences consistent. So now, if you see, now we say products and experiences, experience consistent. So now, from the problems that I was giving you from the beginning, you see that I said you might have a preference and another designer might have another preference. So if the designer says, oh, let's use my preference, and you also say, I'll use my preference and we'll build whatever we like, you see that now we are seeing that we are not going to build a product that looks and feel consistent. We are not building that consistent experience for our users of our product. And trust me, that is one of the best ways to fail in building a successful product. So now I believe we've met with design systems, we've understand design systems very formally. So let's talk about what are the components of a design system. So the components of a design system would with the brand style guides. So majority of people actually misunderstand this. They do style guides and say we have a design system. Well, maybe true, but not necessarily true, because a brand style guide is also part of a design system. It's part of what a design system will be. Because of course, if a brand uses color orange as its brand color, okay, just let me see, let me think of, I think majority of us here know Stack. So I'm trying to see a product that is global. Okay, I've used Coca as an example. So we know that Coca-Cola uses red for its Coke product, right? So now imagine that you are going somewhere and you see a Coca-Cola that is blue. The first thing that comes to your mind is this is not Coca-Cola. This doesn't look like Coca-Cola. And the reason why it's like that is because it has failed to represent its brand. So this is why branding is also part of design system. And when I talk about branding, this at this you are also including UX writers here too, because here they start to define the actions they want to speak to users. So they are defining the set of rules in the sense of the brand to say that okay, this is what we would call our users. We don't want to call our let me just say you have a bus product. You say okay, we don't want to call the bus driver a driver. We want to call the bus driver something. So it's in this part that they begin to elaborate. So you bring in everybody to say, oh, I'm a UX writer. So we are building a design system. This is where I have to contribute. I have to talk about the brand style guide. This it's called a brand style guide, meaning that it's one document, it's part of the document that is describing the brand. The next part in a design system is components and pattern libraries. So components, we have seen components, and we have also seen patterns in the example that I gave earlier. So now our components and pattern libraries are very, very important. But having these two again alone doesn't mean that we already have a design system fully. to the next part is templates. Yes, having our templates. So a general example, even while you are less busy, while you're off this call, you can search for iOS 17 design system. You see it, you see iOS design system on Figma community, and you see all of these things that we're talking about. You see that might not be necessary because you see their brand style guide in the sense that they use a black and all of that. So in your brand style guide, you also talk about imagery, right? Then templates is also there. So the last part of the design system is the theme, which is very, very important. Now, for your design system is also part of your product. And now we've talked about building a successful product, right? But for its product, it also needs a successful team. So your team would use the design system, which means you also have to build a successful design system. So your team is very, very important. Design system. If you build a design system and your team don't use that design system, then it means that you've built a bad design system and that won't work. So you are already on the way to building a very bad product. So the next part is how to start a design system. So this is where we are going. So to start with, number one, auditing is very, very important. I see that people have talked about design them and the majority of times auditing is the beginning of the success of your design system, which means you need to audit everything of what you are going to build. Or like you need to go through your existing products. All right, you need to go to the you need to go through your existing product to say, okay, this is already what we have. And mind you, you don't want to add you don't have to your design system, right? You don't want to say, oh, I think our designers might need this in the future. You don't want to do that in your design system when you are starting to build a design system. Excuse me. Then the next part, add the team if any is present. Yes, this is also very important. Now, this discussion is for and designers. So now we as designers, we might have done all the research and say, oh, this is what we are going to build. But if you don't introduce your developers early, you might start having to introduce some things that are not possible. That is why we always have all of this designers developers conflict, because at the end of the day, you don't carry your developers along in time. So design system also has the same thing. So if you are building, you need to gather your team, you need to gather your product manager, you need to gather your developers, you need to gather your UX writer. And if you are building a solitary system that is only you, of course, you are the only team and you already have yourself there. So the next part of it, so we'll do all of this in process. So decide on the platform it should stay. Yes, this part. So your design system can stay in several platforms. Number one be a design file, just like on Figma. Another one could be a dedicated website. I'm sure majority of us have heard of design Google Material Design. We must have visited this website one way or the other, or we might have heard of human interface design from Apple. And these are um, design systems. We would have seen that of Uber also. Yes, these are design systems that we might have seen outside. And the reason why they have them as public is because they want others to contribute to building for them. I mean, you can definitely say you want to build an Android product. Of course, Google Material Design is somewhere for you. If you want to build human interface design, is good for you. So you see that design systems. If we are talking about design systems, you just have to look at it from that perspective. Start small, scale later. Like I said, when you are starting your design system, you don't want to say, oh, our designers might need this in the future, begin to add it. I know designs have been taught that way, but majority of people are starting to see that that is the wrong way to do design system, because at recent we are looking at things to remove rather than things to add in design systems. So you want to start small and you scale later. then good documentation is important for success. So remember that you might be part of a design system team. I've talked about different types of design systems. Those are different types of governance in a design system. You might be part of a design system team, right? And now you know that, yes, if there's a component, you definitely know how to look for it. And I said, if your designers can't find that particular component easily, it's a way to saying that why am I even looking for this thing? If I am building this component, I might have built it finished. This one I've almost searched the entire file. So you can now see that your design system itself is not being useful if your documentation is not part of it. Iterate because it's what designers do. So yes, we need to hydrate. Sorry, when I say designers, I'm also talking about developers here because yes, design is also part of the development process, right? So we want to iterate all over the time to say, okay, this is how our component can get better. This is where our component can get better one way or the other, right? So demo. So now we want to do our demo. So for our demo, I think I should have shared this way earlier. So I'll stop presenting, or let me keep presenting. I want you guys to do this vote just quickly in 5 minutes. Or do you want us to move towards the designer's perspective? So because of time, I think we've taken a lot of time. We are closing around to 1 hour. So let's look at it from the Figma perspective. So let me stop sharing and I'm going to start my demo. But before that, do we have any QA, any question and answer? All right, I think Ibrahim has dropped that. So while I'm waiting for QA, question and answer from what I built, I'm trying to rush this topic. I know it's not something that we could easily build in just a little time. All right. So while that is going on, let me see if I can use Google Chrome because I think that was too slow. So let me present a window. Yeah. Google Chrome. Oops. So it's not allowing me share. So let me create a new tab here instead. So Figma. Okay, let's start with FigJam. FigJam.new. All right. So I think we have more of designers from my votes. I'm actually both interestingly. So my votes count with both designers and developers. All right. So let me share my screen here. FigJam. All right, guys. So let me be sure you can. Okay, so I see a question. Design systems sounds like they are time consuming for a solo designer. How can you implement a design system before taking time? Yeah, so I think I skipped this part in talking about, I think I skipped this part. So now, starting a design system, sorry, I didn't remember to include slide because I'm not a slide person. I like to go with my head, but now I feel like I'm being constrained. Okay, so now to answer this your question, there are several design systems. Even if you are a developer, we have UI kits. We might have seen Shadsen, we might have seen Tailwind UI, we might have UI. These things exist, and for designers, we already have iOS design kits online. Also, Figma released their design kits online. So the question is, how do you now want to build your excuse me, your design systems with all of this in place? Number one, you don't need to start from scratch. That's the truth. You don't need to start from scratch. And also, a design system might not be something you need if you are building alone. It might not be something you need. Majority of people always design system. But if you're a freelancer, a design system right? So what this simply means is that you don't need to start, we want to build a design system, we need to start from scratch. Now, you would have built some particular components right from time, and you see that, oh, you built a button in product A. This client comes again, we build a product in product B, we build another button in product B. Now, you see that you are beginning to recreate that component over and over and over again. Now, at this stage, you can now say, yes, this is the time for a design system. I need a design system at this point. So you see that now you only have just that component. And from there, you see, I said start small and scale later, which means you just need to start to say, okay, this is what we have. Even if it's a component that you see that you are reusing, I know logically you use more than one, right? So even if it's one component that you are using, you just need to grow. As you grow further, you need to say, this is what we are using. So I think I'm able to answer your question from that. So how do you implement a design system without taking too much time? It means you need to start removing your components from your file one after the other. Just say, okay, I've built this component before. You remove it from that component and say, this is my dedicated design system file. This is where I'm building. But mind you, this is constraints to say you're just a designer. Yes, you can build a design system that is used for the designers alone, right? So now let's move forward. I think you can see my feedback screen. So this is looking so small. I want to make sure that this is very helpful to anybody. So now, okay, I was trying to make this session very, very interactive where everybody is able to be active, but time is not on our side. So let's see. Let me see. Let me. You are building a product. So remember, if you are just starting a product, like you are building a product today for a team, you don't need a design system. I'm saying it again. If you are starting today to say we don't need a design system, all right. If you are just saying, oh, today this is what we are building, oh, we need to build something today, you don't need a design system. You need an existing system to on the ground before to say, okay, now we need to start. The reason for building a design system is when you are redoing something over and over and over again, right? And let's say you work at Google, right? And we don't just have to create all this product over and over again. So if you're building a new product, that's need a design system. But for you to start with a design system, that's why you see that auditing is really, really important. And this is where we are going. We want to audit. So now we might just look for, excuse me, an existing product. Let me see, WhatsApp.com looks more like something that we might want to edit. Right, let me see what I'm sharing first. All right, so I think this is not the right thing for me to share. Let me share. Uh, I can't. Can I share my entire screen? Would this allow me? Oops. Okay, it's asking me to reopen. Please allow me join this call on. Let me copy this link so that I can join this call so that we have. I don't need to start switching tabs over and over again. So let me switch. It's just a minute. I'll be done. All right, I think I'm in. Yes. I should be able to share my screen now. So let me share my screen. Let me share my entire screen. All right, good. So WhatsApp.com. So I'm opening WhatsApp.com. So now let's do our inventory of WhatsApp.com. We want to do our audit. So this particular for this particular part, right? For this particular part, I would like to um, just focus on only the home page. But if I'm a design system at WhatsApp, I'd actually have to check all the entire pages, but permits me to pick just page. So the number one thing that I can see that is repeating itself on this website is the logo. So first thing I'll do is to probably take a screenshot, right? So I'll take a screenshot, cut this, and this is the logo. I'll copy it and paste it on my file, FigJam. So I think I didn't pick that. So let me do FigJam.new to open a new FigJam document. All right, I think I'm done with this. All right. So I'll paste this here, right? So you actually might have to paste the other components to say, okay, this is what it looks like, right? Sorry, that's not what I'm supposed to click. So we also have another one here, right? So this looks like they have equal sizes. So my audit is almost for copy. Okay, pasted it already. Actually, they're of the same size. I think it's just the way I screenshot that. So we have that. And this is another thing. We have links. So now we have several types of navbar links here. And link is very important. I think we know that this is something that we definitely don't need an audit for, but I'm just doing it like this is how we would have an audit. So looking at this navbar, I see that we have this drop down. So this component is very, very interesting. So we know that we need to screenshot it this way. So the good part of this is it has the active and it also has the inactive part, right? So that's from the screenshot I did. So we can always organize this later, right? So we already have this part. So I think we can make this smaller. So we have the active part and the inactive part. So why are we doing this? This would help us um, build only what we have, not what we don't have. Because if we begin to build a design system now, you see that we have so many things inside. So another thing that I think I'm forgetting is the icon, but I'm sure we'll see that. So we also have to screenshot this link to say, okay, this is what we are building also, right? So I'm screenshotting those two parts because one shows that we have a drop down component, another one shows that we don't have a drop down, right? Sorry. So yeah. Yeah. So this is our link. So again, this is our hero section. It doesn't look like it's repetitive, but we might also come back to it. So we didn't take our buttons, but I'm just checking to see if there are different types of buttons on this page. So okay, we have this is a button. It's an icon button and it also has an icon. So we also have this, and we are looking at the animations that we have here on it. So sometimes you might want to record a video and say, okay, this is the type of animation that we have here. So these are the type of buttons. We also have this, but that's not a button, right? So we come here and we paste. This is a button. So let me classify them. So the good part is you can always name them before you, but because this is a demo, I know I should follow good parts, but please allow me. So this is our footer. Our footer definitely will be on all of the pages. So this is also a component. So you'll notice something. It is what we are going to repeat, like what the things that are going to be repeated, right? That is what I'm copying in this file. So developers, don't worry, you see where you can also contribute now. So just allow me, right? Just allow me to say, okay, we've picked up all of the elements from the website, just like how we are going to be. So allow me for this demo. So it's very helpful to everybody and I don't need to keep switching tabs. So for developers, at the end of the day, you can absolutely use Storybook to bring in your components. But I mean, you are going to start from the design file. But in case you work in a company that say, okay, just want to have just a FigJam file. In FigJam, we can add code. It's been a while I did this. Let's see. This is taking long. I think it's a week. Is it? Uh, good. This is taking long. COD. Yeah, I saw code block now and it's gone. Yeah, code block. So the good thing with code block here is you can pick any language that you're writing. So we see JavaScript, we see TypeScript. So we can absolutely write our GSX components and say, what should I write? Or we can write our HTML. I don't know. So this is how developers can also contribute. If you see this is attached, so let me say that we want to write our link components. So also for designers too, this is why you need to gather the team around, right? You need to gather developers around. So first thing is you want to decide what language did they write. You also want to decide, you want to ask those questions. How do you style your components? Do you use Tailwind? Do you use regular CSS? So again, developers might say, okay, we are going to use a link, right? So we can say link href href equals to, so we can do the JavaScript thing and say to slash home, right, and say this is home page. So developers can, I'm just saying this is link and tie this here. Let's see. So we can do some JS documentation here. Just a little of documentation. It feels weird not working in an IDE, but majority of times you definitely copy. So you can say link components. Sorry, this needs to have a star in front. This is a link components, not the components, but okay, we can say this is a link component. Or do you guys want me to write components? Please don't allow me to that this time. So you can see that developers can also contribute here. So most times you might actually just have to, if your company says this is where we want to have our design system, you can have it here. All you just need to do is copy and paste, right? So depending on where you want to have it, so there are different levels to design systems too. So we already have this. We've done our audit. So now we've gathered the team. I've asked the team, okay, I'm now briefing the team. I'm telling the team, okay, we want to build our design system. I'll be contributing to this part. You will contributing to that part. How can we do this together? What can we do? Absolutely, you can copy this and move it back to Figma, right? And say Figma. So now that we've made our audit, so first thing that we can see is WhatsApp as a brand. WhatsApp uses this green, it uses black, and it uses this cream color, right? So we might not follow that. Trust me, we might not follow it. I'm just using this as an example. So after we are done with this auditing, we would organize our audits better, please, if we were doing this. So I might probably say, yeah, it has a table. So we could draw a table, right? Sorry, allow me. So we could draw a table and we can put this here onto the top and call this our logos. Just a way to organize it. It doesn't have to have the best organization. I don't like this thing design system in FigJam, but if the company says that's where it should be, that is where it should be, right? But majority of people use other tools outside of this. So the next part is, now that we are done, we've organized our project, we've organized all our features inside. So now we begin with a new Figma file. So I'll say figma.new. So remember that we are going to start with the branding, right? So the branding file, majority of times would call this tutorial. So you probably put the name, then we'll say foundational system. Foundation. So actually, foundation is what it's called. So now, what are those things that make up brand elements? So colors are the first things, right? So we can have colors. We can also have icons. So in my own design system, so let me see. I already have my design system here before. So if I go to assets, you see that these are icons. But for this to be very helpful, we can look for, let's see, lucid icon. Let's see if they have, but I think hero icon does have a React file. Let me see. I said React have a Figma file. So let's see the Figma file. So most times, if you want to find plugins, probably you might not want to use hero icons. So you can say material icon Figma. It's always helpful to add Figma community in front of it. So can you see we have, but the good part is they're always in form of components. Did I just like that? So it's asking me where I should open it. So I want to do this in, so I have it profile here. So given that we would have had some of these components depending on the type of design system that you are building. If you have dedicated design system team, this is when they will do this to say, okay, we want to pack all this part. So yeah, so I want to pick this part. So one good thing with Figma is if you want to select all the entire children of a Figma file, you press enter, right? So I want to select the next entire children. I can press enter and press enter. But the sad part of this is not an icon type that you would want to use. So let me explain why. That's because they are not components. So if you want to use this, you have to start making them components from scratch, which if you have a lot of time, it's not bad. If the icon pack is worth it, you can do that. So let me look for an icon set. I just need something small, something small. Let me see. Just something small so that we can get started. Okay, so we might not need that. Let's come to this part and create design grid. So you might be fortunate to in a team that prioritizes designing their icon. So now would create an icon grid first, since this is for this. So in design systems, if you don't want something to show up, like we don't, at the end of the day, we are going to export this as components. That is, we don't have components here, but it will just publish library at the end of the day. So, but we don't want to publish this part. So we start with an underscore and use icon grid, right? So this is our icon grid. We've not made it a component yet. So I'll lock this, I'll click this constraints proportions so that an icon set would definitely use 24 pixels. So icon grid is not that difficult. So we start with layout grid, of course, and we are going to use this grid, this box grid. Of course, it says 8, but we definitely use 1. So the way we do this is you draw a rectangle. So pick this 3. Yeah, this 3. So this 3. So it's 18 pixels by 18 pixels. So now we want to switch to stroke, but instead of pressing stroke, just press Shift and X to switch my fill to stroke. So now this is too big, so we go with 0.2 to make it in right here. So we can give this a radii of 1. So it applies the radius. So, we duplicate this part, Ctrl D, right? And make this slimmer, make this taller, slimmer, come down. All right, so we can absolutely duplicate this again and centralize this and rotate it. Don't worry, there's a recording so you can go through all of this. So we would also have the circle part. So okay, the circle is too big. Yeah, so perfect circle. Then I switch again, then I do 0.2 like we had before, right? So we have this part. That's not all. We need a line in the center. So I'll pick P to draw my pen and drag this down. Sorry, let me move a bit. This doesn't look like the center. So I'm holding shift to draw a straight line. Oh, sorry. All right. So in this is 1.2 pixels. 0 0.2, sorry. And the color we are using is D9. Right. So we already this. So that's not all. You can duplicate this and rotate it. You hold shift to have perfect pixels. So the next part is from here to the top. All right. So I can duplicate Control D and press Shift H to invert it. Sorry. So that it's not so much of command. I'll just do this and I'll do flip horizontal. So we have our icon grid. So I'll enter to select all the children and group them. Then now I can lock this. So now we have our icon grid component. I can put off this fill or put it on depending on what I want. And now Figma has changed the way things are. So in case you are not used to, if in case this is not the UI you like, you can switch it back to the old one. Go back to the previous UI, but I think I'm confident with this already. So now I'll select this and I'll make this a component. So now I won't be able to publish this. If I publish this library, it won't go. This grid won't go out with what I want. So now let's just create one icon with this so that we can go. So I'll pick the letter P. So probably want to start from here or anywhere, right? So we can actually create an icon like this. Come here, or let's not create that. Let's create from. Is this grid correct? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I did the right grid, but yeah, it's correct. So pick this here and move this to this part. And now we have our message icon. So now that we have that, I can bring this inside, right? And just do all of that. So I can put this off, and now we have our icon here. I can change the weight now to probably 1.5, right? Center. So no, this should be outside, not center. Oops. Why is it doing the right thing? Well, I'll just switch to a fill size icon. So this icon is not looking like the best. We need like more blah blah blah. So I'll make this a component. So I'll first detach this so that it doesn't do this thing. So we'll go to detach instant. But I'm sure you already have an idea of, so I didn't put this inside the grid. So I'll cut and paste to put inside the grid. So I'm sure you already have an idea of how you could create your icons already, but we are not going to do this. So we are just going to keep this and we look for another file because of course, when you are building your design system, you won't be doing that. So I need my file here again. I'm adding so much today. I just hope nobody is confused because it looks like I'm already doing a lot. All right, so now the good part is you can see all of this are already in components. So all I just need to do is I can do Control A and Control C and copy it back to our foundation file. So probably I like to create a new file and call it icons, actually not icons, sorry, allow me, icons, and paste it here. So it will take a while, but it's going to paste. So now we have all our icons. So which means let me put off my design system to wait. So library, that's asset actually. Mhm. So now you can see that I have 769 components already in this file. So I want to remove this from this file. I want to remove this. All right. So yeah, we already have this. So that is out. So we already have our own icon. So if I go to assets, yes, local components, icons. So you see now I can easily drag my own 24 pixels icon inside my file. And the good part of this is it also has its own field icon, outline, normal, circle. So you can see this is a good icon pack if you want to start. So I can delete this. So in case you need this file, let me copy it. Where would I paste this? Let me see. Okay. What other what other tools do designers use aside Figma to build design systems? So it depends on your tool, absolutely. It depends on your design tool. So you can also do one in Sketch or you can do another in Adobe XD. All right, so we already have the icon back. So now our color. So now colors, there are different ways to build colors. There's Tailwind. So if your team uses Tailwind, it's always interesting to go to Tailwind. So you go to tailwindcss.com and say, okay, since you've discussed with your engineers, so that's why I said it's always interesting to talk to your engineers. I know majority of times we start with Tailwind. So let's say our team decided that we are going to pick. So you can just do this, copy the blue. There used to be one site that you can copy all of this all together and paste it, but I think now they're asking you to pay. So which is UI colors. Let me see. UI colors. I changed my system, so I can't find it. Sorry, but I know there's UI colors, but let's not use it. So in case you want to build your own design system, right, and say you want to do your own part. Now this is now our file. Our file is here, so I can close this. I don't need this again, so that we don't have conflict of switching from one part to another. I don't need this again. So I have my tutorial here. So we don't need this again. So since we've already established, I just did this in case somebody needs it, or probably I'll leave this so that I can share this file after the class. So in case somebody needs this, the person can also copy. So now in our colors, so there are different ways you can work with colors. So let me zoom out. We are not doing icons again. So I don't know if I hide this, I might forget to unhide it. So you might not be able to use it, but permit me to do this. So I start with picking the base color of the team. So for me, I've worked with all of this, but I think to select a starting color works with X color for me. So I can move this. I don't want. I think I've explained all this thing in previous classes, so it doesn't make sense to go through it again because of time. We have very limited time. So always the reason why I come here is because I know that the colors that I pick around here, they are always accessible. So remember we talked about accessibility. So one thing I'm going to do now is I want to test for accessibility. So this is white. So now I'll open my plugins and I'll pick Stark, STARK. Can I copy and send? Let me see if I can copy. This is the name of, okay, I think I can copy link. So in case somebody wants to check this outside of this class, you have this link. That's the plugin. The name is also Stack. You don't need to click on the link. You can just search for it. So Stack constant accessibility, contrast accessibility checker. The issue is this is going to tell me to log in. All right, I think I'm signed in. So what I want to do is contrast. Yeah, I said it. I'm signed in. I don't want to sign in again, but okay. This is a tutorial, so it's good to just do everything and right. So start. Please allow me. This is taking a lot of time to load. What's wrong? It's taking a lot of time to load. Let me, if I close this, it won't. Mm, 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 mm. Uh, okay, I'll show you guys this later. But let's just assume it's not good to assume, but let's just assume that we can absolutely just move forward, right? So we just want to check accessibility if white will work and this blue will work. Then if it tells us that it doesn't work, we can absolutely like darken this a little. But let's just do this because I know this is going to work. All right. So now building our colors. Now see this. So I'll start with my base color. So when I'm building colors, I like to make this one white. I know this color is F5, sorry. I like to make this one white. So yeah, this is white, so I don't need you for now. So I'll start with my base color, right? So I'll also duplicate this. I'll make this one color black, pure black, and I'll also duplicate this, make it stay on top, right? All right. So now we have these two colors. So first things first, um, we want to build a scale of 9 colors, right? So this is 100. So we can do it this way and add auto layouts, right? I'll show you different ways. This is one way of creating color. I'll show you different tricks here. So this is 100, 200, 300. Sorry, that's duplicate. 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's just notch this down to show that this is our base color, right? So for the first part, I like to go 15, 15, 15 difference. So let's say this color is going to be 15%, right? So since it's mixed with the white, right? Since it's mixed with the white, it's going to give us that particular color. It's so what we are doing, this is called, we are making a tint. We are adding white to the color. So we are mixing this and white. So I'll click on this and pick this. So this is my 100. So for this two, I'll absolutely do thing for the blue, 15%. And now I have my black. All right. So the good part is this giving us 100, right? And this is giving us sorry, let's take this as 100 and this as 15. So now we want to calculate the scale. There are different colors, there's no algorithm. This is the way I've done mine over years. This is what I've been doing over years, right? So I've switched my own color taste severally, but I mean, this is like the last one I did before switching again. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, like counting this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So now we'll have our calculator will do 100. So since this is on, right, we'll do 100 plus 15, which will give us 115, right? Then we can divide it by the amount of steps, which is 5. So to get the color, which is 23, right? It gives us 23. So let's come back here. So now instead of that, so we say 15 plus 23 will give us the next color. We also had 23 here to give us the next color. All right, so you can see how we are building our tool. So we also had, sorry, so I like to, this is 15. Sorry, we did, oh, sorry, here. 38 plus 23, right? This will give us our next color. Then here, we say 38 plus 23 to give us our next color. Are we doing this right? Are you guys getting it? Plus 23. I don't like it, this class of no feedback, but it's just what we have to do. So we have to add 23. Okay, such that when we add 23 to this, it's going to give us 100. Exactly the color that we are starting from. And when we do that here, it gives us 100. Exactly the colors that we are starting from. Right? So now we just want a color that is very, very close to white. So we can bring this here, right? We can bring this here and say, let's pick our main color. I was not supposed to delete that. So I'll just bring this here and I just like to give this like 5%. So I can bring this here and tap this one. So now we have our colors from 50 to 100. So now there are different styles. Sorry, did I do this rightly? I think that I didn't add this color. So I'll just darken this my own manually. Sorry, maybe lighten it a bit, but still, I just did wuru wuru to the answer, right? Because I didn't want to go back to that step again. So now this is 50, but here's what we can do. Let's select everything, right? This is going to be our primary color. So let's press Ctrl R and rename it to primary color. Primary. you can add slash. So once you add slash in front of something, it gives it a folder structure, right? Like it's going to be nested. So we can just say rename. That's just the first step. Don't worry. So now, because we don't want to do mathematical renaming everything, so we'll pick current name, right? Which, so you see the preview here. This is a preview. This is primary. So remember, I said n, right? The number 100. So we'll pick number here. Sorry, number. So for us to continue to have 0, 0, 0, right? We can just continue to add n. Sorry, did I do this correctly? Number. Okay, n. No. Okay, I think this is no. Oops, did Figma mess this up for me? Let me see. So $n 00. Okay, sorry, n 00. So it adds 00 to the number to the end. So I renamed this, and now you see now that we have. Okay, it didn't rename this properly, so let's do Ctrl Z and Ctrl R. So we probably would pick from 900 to 100. All right, so now it has renamed that, so we can absolutely just rename this to 015. All right, so this is good. So if we can use another plugin called Styler. Then if we say apply styles, all right, so don't worry, I'll do this later out, but I want to show you guys another method that I use. So in case you want to create a custom color, sometimes it's allowed. You can create custom colors. Then there's another color, that another palette I claim to like. This, the name of this is Matter Color. So again, I can pick my color from here, but I seem to have deleted it, so I can just move this around and just pick one, right? And call this primary. So it can make paint styles, right? It's going to add it to my local variables, which is what I want. So now you see that this has named this from 50 to 900, same thing that we did, and now we have it here. So it did primary. Can you see the slash that it has is what we want? So maybe we don't want this again. This is the first Figma style of doing things. This is where we started from, but now we don't do this again. So now let's do it the new way by creating local variables. This is new to a few, but we just have to do it. So let's create a variable, and variable of color, right? So we'll call this 100. Let's just have it in its purest form. So we can rename this part to colors, right? And since this is 100, let's just do let's do it to oops. Okay, so I'm pressing Shift Enter to do that. This is 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, and 900. So I'm supposed to have added 050. So that's 050. So now the good part is I can move it back to the top to where I want it to be. So now I can begin to pick my colors from here, right? So you see that I didn't call it primary. So I'll rename it to blue, right? So I'll rename it to blue. Just allow me. So I'm deleting them because I'm not going to use them again, so that I can know what I have already, what I've picked, and what I'm yet to pick. So that I don't get confused as I go on. So this is first time some of you will be using variables, and that's absolutely fine. So I think I did this already. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do this quickly. I'm sure there's already a plugin for doing this, but if I'm less busy, I might actually do mine. Right, so we have all of this already. So delete. So now I supposed to name it something like I should name it blue slash 50. So now I have all of this inside blue, and you see that it's categorized already. But let me just do Ctrl Z and right click and just say new group with selection and just call it blue. So we could also have our neutral, right? We'll have our neutral color. So now I'm just calling this blue, right? Because of course that is what I'll call it. So we will just have this. Then should I add the neutral? I don't. We have just little time left, so let me just quickly do the neutral. Allow me. So neutral, right? So I like one to make paint styles, right? So now if I create variable again, new variable, so you see I can say this is black slash 050. So now you see that this is not what it's supposed to do. So we can have this way. Then drag this down. It was giving me a nested structure before, but that's not what I want. So we have 50 here. This is 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, and 900. So now we can start with doing this again. Oopsie. We just have to. We don't have a choice. So we have 300. Yeah, we are going towards 400 now. So this is okay. Towards the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Expect this to close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did that work? Yes, it did. So now you can see that already colors in my library, right? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The sixth one. So let me first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We just want to do the sixth one. So let me delete. So that's why I said it's always good to delete them. All right. So now we have this. So I can delete this here. I don't need it again. I'm supposed to keep that, but we can always revisit that when it comes to time of documentation. So local variables. So now you see that we have our blue and our black. So the next part. So if we are having other colors, we should also add red, orange and green, or red and green for other colors. So this time around, we just want to create a new collection, and we'll call it alias. So we can always switch from colors to alias. So the difference between colors is that these colors are just in their purest form. They don't have any attachments to us, right? So now in alias, right, we can now start to call this primary, right? So this is almost like giving them our own color. So it's almost like doing the same thing, right? And you definitely can skip this. But instead of giving them raw colors now, this time around, now we are going to be giving them from this part. So it makes sense to do it this way. You can one day decide to say, okay, I want to change something, and you know where to go to, right? So this is 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, right? So now we have 100. So let's move this to 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, and 800. 800. So we have it up to 900. So allow me. So we have 900, right? 900. So that's for the blue. 900. We should also call neutral, but time is not on our side. So now we can create a new collection this time around. We can call it anything. We can just call it function, right? That is what they do. So this is a new collection. So now let's create the last set of variables for this part. So now we this time around we can decide to section it by text, right? So let's call this text primary. So text, we can call this text primary or text 100, right? So we can say, we can always rename this, but let's see. So for the main text, what we want to do is we want to call um the neutral. We didn't do neutral. It's just, should I do neutral? Let me go back to Elias and do the neutral. So let's do neutral because neutral is very important. So neutral slash 050 again. So it helps us create this. So we can go with black 100 and black 050. So let me just quickly do this: 100, 200, 300, 400, 100, 200, 300, 400. I wish Figma would allow us auto generate this too. Yeah, okay, we already have this correctly. So 100. So you see the importance of this in a minute. 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, and 900. All right. So now then to the functions. So we have text. We can call this main or whatever it is. So let's call this neutral. So we want to use, this is like our black text, right? And we can scope this, right? And okay, I wanted to show you guys something in icons. But so now what color scopes means is that, remember, this is a design system. So now if we have this part, right? Let's close this for a minute. And we come here and we come to the libraries. It shows us all of these colors that we've made. But it doesn't make sense to have all of that, right? So now let's say we now have this text that says hello world. Let me zoom in so that it's big enough. We now have this text and I want to change the color of this text. And I go to libraries. It gives me all of these colors, which is not what we want. So now I'll come back. Then now I can edit this and click on scope. I can remove this so that I can set it in where I want it to be. So I want to set this for only text. So now what this means is that if I click on this and I come to libraries, oops, it's not, oh, sorry, I didn't scope that properly. So let's come back here. We're supposed to do this for this alias and say from here to here, let's scope them all together. So we don't want them to show at all. We don't want these colors to show at all. So let's see if it applied to everything. Excuse me. Let's see, did they apply here? Scope, yes. Scope. All right, it did apply. So that's for alias. So let's come to colors too. Of course, we don't want our colors to show everywhere, right? Because these are just helpers. They were the one that helped us get to this place. So now for the function here, we now want to check the scope of this. The scope should show on only text, right? So now let's check that again and see what we have done. So if we click on libraries, we'll see that it's only text that is showing. So we want this to show up for text. So we actually, at the end of the day, we spent a lot of time doing this. So we can say, okay, so this is text. We can also call it 100 or we can call it 500, or this is going to be default, right? So again, we have several types of text, but then this is going to be default, right? So folks, we have let's not name it this way. Let's say surface. So what surface means is that um, something like feel like this, anything that has a feel that we want to give color. So for surface, we can say default surface. For default surface, let's give it probably this one. So depending on the style, so you see what we want to do. This is not applicable to text at all. It's not supposed to be applicable to text. Let's just give it feel, frame, or text, right? And we can also apply it to text, but we don't want to. So now we have the reason we are not opening all of this to anybody is because it's a system, remember. So we have to say, oh, these are what you have to use for this part of, for this particular thing. So also on surface again, we can also say so if we add red, we can say red. If we add so we can also say this is warning. We can also say this is success, right? This is success, and more types of surface. So we can also create another variable which is color again, and say this is text, right? And do all this particular part. So now we've done that for text. Foundations is still part of foundation. Now this is just part of this thing. So for text now, to go to text. Text two are supposed to come here, like it's supposed to come here, but because of time, so you would have to come to this website, type scale. So type scale helps us with text. All right. So for types, let me see. Looks like I've been talking to myself since. All right. So all right, we still have participants here. I'm safe. All right. So type scale. Now for types, the body text. So you see the body size. This means the paragraph size, right? This is almost like the 16 pixels is the default size for browsers. Like unless you modify it, default for most browsers is absolutely 16 pixels. So that's the body size. So you can see it's for paragraph. So this is just like regular bodies that you have. So the scale is already in 16 pixels. You can modify this, but it makes sense to keep this at 16 pixels. Then there are different types of scales. So what this scale is describing is what is the next, how is the next font going to be generated. So most times you see people use this. So you see here we have one rem. So I want this to actually show in pixels, not rem. So I don't think this works, but this works absolutely, I guess. So we can look at another one, augmented font. So this is another one. So you see that once I change it, so I think this is one that I think works for me. This particular one, major third. So what I'll do, remember we talked about the 8 pixel system. So once I'm building my own, right, I can do 16 pixels, 20 pixels. Then here I'll round it to the nearest 4 or 8. So this will give us 24. This will give us 32. This will give us 40. This was 48. This should give us 64, right? So depending on what you have. So I doubt if you can, but you can absolutely like edit this. So for body text, so you see you can always edit the line height. So line height is the difference between the top and bottom. So the good part of this is it shows you example of where it's how it's being used, right? So you can also check it on mobile and say, okay, this is example of what I'm doing. So then for you to edit this, you say upgrade to pro. So you can just use this for your type scale and screenshot it. Come here to Figma. I need time for question and answers because it looks like I've been talking to myself since, and this is supposed to be a 2-hour event. Oops. Okay. So naturally, we would add all of those things to our local variables, right? So for you to know what we can add to our local variable, let me add a text. So text. Let's see. This is a text. So these are things we can add to this. So you see that I don't have a variable for it, but I think I should be able to select it from here. But we can change that. You see it tell me apply variable, so I can apply variable to this. So I'll create a number variable for that, and you can also create a variable for this. Yes, variable font axis. So yeah, then your line height, you definitely can create variable. Letter spacing, you can create variables. So all of them are here. So that's where you're supposed to do it. So I just want to show us let's normally once I'm done with this file, the next thing I do, and maybe I should just open my own component. It's been a while. I did this one a long time. I'm not maintaining it. Yeah, these are the system foundation, I guess. And now this for my old workplace foundation. I think I didn't open this. Was it this? Yeah, just let me move this. So hey, moving it might not allow me work with this again. Wow. It might affect my design system. Shit. Correct. So we have, so you can see I have just icons on this file. Yeah, it's taking time. I have just icons and colors on this file. Yeah, it's taking too long to open. It was taking too long to open. But let's just assume that we've created a new file. So I have just maybe 8 minutes more to do this. So I'll just create the button component easily. I hate that. Uh, okay, let me just enable. Okay, we have icons here. Good. So for button, right? For button, we can do a button component and bring. We can just bring one icon, right? Just one icon. And button is supposed to be 16 pixels. Text, medium is okay. 20 pixels height. So we can have this. So according to what we saw on WhatsApp, okay, their buttons, they only have left icons. They don't have, okay, there's one, their download button has, right? So if you're modeling that, we'll do this. Remember, I said you don't do what we don't have. So I'll duplicate this and I'll do Shift A to add them to auto layout, right? So let's say we are building like, if we're building like something, so this is supposed to, should I make this a component already? I'm rushing fast. Okay, so let's just build this finish. Let's say it's pixel spacing, and you know, like 12 pixels here, and 16 pixels here, and probably add a fill. So since we are done with colors, let's replace this back to the default one. So if we would have a round button, so we'll say 4. All right, so our components, our button component is almost complete. So let's create a component, right? So now we've created a component. So in the component, things are going to change. We would have several things, but let's start with this, the label. So for us to change the label, we can click on, there's one icon is label. So let's call this label, and by default, it carries the property of button. So now if I duplicate this, right, I can edit my button from here to say this is a button, right? Which means I don't need to do this again and start, you know, duplicate this and start editing from here, right? So that's that. So we could also do this icon left, right, for this component. So this is the appearance. We can say show icon left. I wanted to teach a lot of things, but time don't humble me. So say create property. So what this means is that we can come here and say, okay, we don't want any icon on the left, right? And you see that happen. So let's do that. Let's do same for icon right, but by default, we can switch this. Okay, let's make it show icon right. So same thing again. You see that. Let me just keep this one here. So you see that as I do that, we can have this here or here, here or here, right? So I'll show you how to create that switch too, in case you want something. So also we also saw that we had only icon button, so we can also say show text, right? And create this and say show text. So if we don't show the text, right? If we say don't show text, if we say don't show the icon, we already have an icon button, right? Oops. Let me put that on back. So we could do that. And that's not all we could do. We could also create an instance for this. So yeah, so that's why I said you should create a component. So we can say left icon, right? And let me just do this for this immediately. I'll call this right icon, right icon. So now you see that on this button, we can decide to say, okay, we are not using this icon again. Let's use left icon. Oh, sorry, let's put this icon on the left off. On the right, now let's say we want to put right icon. Oh, what's this? Well, let's just pick any button. I'm trying to skip up with time. So now we already have this, but again, this is not the only button we could have. I'll change the color of this button to we didn't select what we want. Okay, since my design system is showing, I can absolutely use mine. Just permits me because of time. So I can switch the color from here to see dark mode. No, not dark mode. Hey, yeah, you can change the brand to probably navy blue. All right. So one thing with my system here is I'd already worked on accessibility. So I want to show you the importance of this. So I'll go to then I can say text on primary. So I want to show you something. So now that we are using this particular color, time doesn't permit us. You see that here we already have a white button, but let's say that now I decide to say I want to use another color like this green. You see that it automatically switches it to a very accessible button. So this answers accessibility also that we are talking about. So now we could have like several types of button. We could have secondary buttons. So I'll do that by creating a variant. So you can see add variant here. So now that we have a variant, this property can now change. So if we have just two variants, like one and two, like we have like this, so we can do something like this and say is active or is primary, right? So if this is not primary, this is going to be off. So now that we've named this, we can turn this to on, and you'll see what will happen in a minute. So we can change this color to ah okay, let's just change it to this, right? So now let me drag this out, and now you see the variants that I just created. So you can use on, off, yes, no, and it would apply the switch for you. So you see immediately I click on it, it creates all these variants for me. So this is another advantage. So you see, if I'm just working in a file, so I can just quickly show you an example. So I already have my button component here that I've created. Okay, I put off my own, so let me put it on back. Whew. So at the end of the day, you'd have to click publish when you're done. Hmm. I can't find my other component again. That's fucked. All right. Excuse me, language. Allow me, please. All right. But let me see. Put it off. I did put it off. I knew I put it off. It's added. So let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. This is not allowing me hard mine. Let me see a new file. Since there's no time again, I just need to not that. All my files. Okay, so let me move this. Let me see the projects that are here so that I can move them. Shit. Okay, I'll just create a new file and show you guys what it could look like. Draft. Create new. Alright, so let me see. It should be here. I create here so I can search for my button. Alright, so now you can see I can just easily search a button. I can search for input components. Yeah, I have form input that also shows the error state. So you can see that it's if we have a design system, we can just easily create anything we like in few minutes. And here I can edit. This is the error message. I can decide to say I don't want to show the error. I just want to show this, and we already have this. So this is what a design system can do for you. For developers, you can do your design system in Storybook. Let me see. I have cell here. Right. Not that. So let me show you. So you can explore Storybook. All right. So this is like a live component, a live design system already. So we also have avatar, and you can see now that I can also play with what we have here. So if I delete this, right, you see that it is showing the name that is here, and I can also switch it to the secondary. I can change the name here, and once I change the name, let me just say Emmanuel. So if it's just a single name, it takes the first two characters. But if it has a surname, John, so it takes the first two letters, and I can decide to say it's not rounded. If we can also set some other things, then we have class, medium, and we can make it round depending on what it is. So you'd also see accordion, and this is a design system that we have the options. So you see you can open this, you can see the code. You can absolutely see the code here. Copy the code, paste it. So you see developers can easily just come here and say we copy this. For the avatars component, you can show the code of this. So you see it copies the code, paste it. For the buttons component, comes here. This is a button. Show the code. Just copy it like this, and the person can also see props of what they can change if this is primary or secondary, and they can also create big, large. So now this design system that is here also exists on Figma, right? But I was not able to show this because of the time. I mean, time is not everybody's friend, so we did a lot, did a lot, and I don't know. I'm not even sure I was able to cover the entire topic, but I'm sure you guys picked one or two. I used more than my time, so thank you for joining the class. Maybe we might have a part two for developers. I think I focused more on designers this time around. So if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer. Um, guys, please just raise your hands if you have question, or if you still want me to show you one or two again. Just raise your hand out. Definitely see you from here. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, 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 we can. I don't think there's any. Chris- There's any.
Okay.
Okay, Christopher Lade, his hands is raised.
Can you hear me?
To the plugins I use, I'm trying to understand like plugins I use, like the plugins I
Can you
used
hear?
on this call. Yes, I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me?
Please go ahead. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that there are some plugins you use on Figma for, I think, for creating text style and
Okay.
for creating color variables. I don't know if you can always drop it on general groups, like you can always record them.
All right. So I am.
I
So
also I also visited a website for text for doing typography.
this
I don't know
TypeScript.
if you can also download
TypeScript.
that. That's good,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure. I will. I will.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay. So who also has another question for me? Whew. Today is the first time I'll have a class that there are no questions. Looks like we had a lot of time.
Hmm.
So, does anybody have a question? Please, you can just request. I think Christopher requested to present, or let me just make everybody a presenter. It makes it easy for anybody to ask their question. So, since we're not much on the call, hi guys, please speak with me.
Okay.
I
So
usually
one
don't.
question, right? Can you recommend maybe any video that one can watch like privately, right, to continue to like learn about design system? Because I've been learning about design system maybe this year, and it's something that was very hard because I was just jumping from one place to the other. There was no, I don't think there's a video out there that explains everything. Someone that is just explaining a part, and it's very very crazy to learn from different authors, and they'll be sharing different ideas, and you cannot even understand what. The funny thing that there's no design system tutorial on Udemy. I tried to like purchase a course design system on Udemy, I can't find one. So I don't know if you have any video resources and someone can watch or read to learn more about creating design system or Figma.
Let me see. The truth is, like you said, there are no design system tutorials. Design system is learned by doing. I wish people would do more of tutorials, and the reason is because there are so many things involved in design system. Trying to complete this topic today, I skipped a lot of things, like a lot of details, and I know majority of people might be lost inside the call, and that's because I was rushing to fix it. But here's the tip. Yeah, right. Design system is almost like, if you want to learn design system, study other design systems that exist already. So let me share my screen so that you can see. I think there's one design system that I like recently. It's from Microsoft. So it's just recently. And I learned some things from Microsoft Design System. Let me go to figma.com. I think I favorited the file. Maybe I did. But this new, let me see, Microsoft. All right. I don't know the particular one, but it looks like this is the one I used last. So let's open it. So you see majority of these things. iOS is very common on the community. Yes. So you see they have docs. You document everything that you need. So let me zoom in. So you see this is a very, very detailed design system. So these are getting started. So while I was presenting, I talked to you about documentation and how important it is. So you can see we did a lot of they did a lot of screenshots, returning back, and yeah, now these are all their components. So the interesting part of it is this part. I think you can play this part. Looks okay. So you can see this one says copy me, right? So you see they explained how they use all of their components here, right? So the best way to learn from them is to absolutely study them and see, okay, this is how they were created. So you see, I think while I was creating my one of the design system, I was here. I knew that I came here to look at their avatar styles. So right, do you get? So just check out design systems online. Let me copy the link. Oh, this is not it. So Microsoft Fluent Web, Microsoft, this um, community, community Figma. Yeah. So see what I just searched for. So you get to see all of them. They have iconography. So it's all on Figma. You see them. You can also search iOS design kits or UI kits. I think it's UI kits Figma. Yeah, this is iOS 16. There's somebody that drops all the iOS immediately comes out, and it doesn't even work with Apple, funnily. Okay, I think it was Apple that dropped this one themselves. So you see, um, I don't like this new Figma. I don't want to drop one thing another. Oops. All right. So I think it's the way Figma works now, but just to cover. So you see, they have all their components too from the change logs. So you see active sheets. So you see how it's displayed. You can also copy all of these things and use them in your design. Like I said, you don't need to always start from scratch. You can do copy and paste right in your design, and that's fine. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
So that's the best way to learn design system. There are other skills you need to learn in design system. Conflict resolution for people, because of course it's one of the main parts. Creating components is the easiest part of design system. Resolving conflict, implementing governance. I didn't talk about governance. I mean, I didn't talk about governance, and there are some new things you might also need to learn. So let's say that this is a design system that you cannot edit, and for me to be able to edit this, I might need to create a branch. So it's not allowing me because I'm the owner of this file and I could edit. So there are so many things that we could implement. So any other question?
Okay, I think that there are no other questions. So, guys, I want to thank you so much for waiting till the end of this class. First, let's thank our instructor. You have done really well, even though the time allocated to this class was a lot, but it was still not enough. Obviously, there are still a lot of things that we need to learn. So, like you said, we are going to have a part two of this class, and we're going to be communicating the time and arrangement to everybody on the group. So what is going to happen is that if you don't have dropped all the links to our what's the name to our socials through our link tree. It's linktree.com/FOF Abeokuta. So you can find it there. Join our WhatsApp channel. You will see our YouTube channel there as well, so that all of these things, when the recording comes out, you can actually watch it too. So once again, thank you all, thank you guys, and we are going to call this a day. So have a wonderful night rest until we see again. Please take care of yourselves and continue creating magic.
All right.